Ryan Gosling and Russell Crowe starred in this buddy comedy as a pair of private detectives who, accidentally, end up investigating the disappearance of Amelia, Margaret Qualley. Directed by Shane Black, the film was praised by critics and has become a cult classic. While every now and then fans claim for a sequel on social media platforms, such as X and Reddit, there is no indication that a second film is in the works. Actually, according to Black, the poor box office grossing of the movie, $62 million on a $50 million budget, is likely the reason it didn't get one. Melissa McCarthy, Jason Statham, Rose Byrne, and Jude Law star in this spy comedy directed by Paul Feig, and that it was a critical and commercial success. It grossed $235 million worldwide against a $65 million budget. While the movie was very successful, Feig's attempts to make a sequel haven't materialized. The director said in 2019 that there hasn't been any interest from the studio in the project per GamesRadar. Taylor Zakhar Perez and Nicholas Galitzine starred in this adaptation of Casey McQuiston's novel. The film follows the romance between the son of the President of the United States, Perez, and a British prince, Galitzine, and it was a critical success. It also became the most watched film on Prime Video for 3 consecutive weeks. While rom-coms don't usually get sequels, McQuiston has followed up the first novel with a bonus chapter in which we know more about the life of the characters after the original plot. So, that material could be the starting point for a sequel, if Amazon MGM Studios is interested in doing one. Tom Cruise is the star of one of the most successful action franchises ever, Mission Impossible, but he could have also led a sci-fi franchise if Edge of Tomorrow would have gotten a sequel. The film, directed by Doug Liman, also stars Emily Blunt, and it is set in the middle of a battle between humans and aliens. The movie was an incredible success, both critically and commercially. It grossed more than $370 million worldwide against a budget of $170 million. However, a sequel hasn't been officially announced yet, but Liman has been actively trying to produce it. We've got to say that it's probably better that Ratatouille never got a sequel, simply because it would be so hard to top the original. However, Pixar has surpassed themselves with other sequels, such as the Toy Story franchise. Apart from winning the Oscar for Best Animated Feature, the movie is considered one of the best films of all time and was a total commercial success. So, if writer-director Brad Bird had considered a follow-up, we don't doubt that it could have been a hit. Elf, starring Will Ferrell, is a modern Christmas classic. The film, directed by Jon Favreau, follows Buddy, a human who grew up with Santa's elves, who finds out he's not an elf and decides to go to New York City to meet his real dad. At the time of its release it became a major and critical success, grossing $220 million against a $30 million budget. However, while director Favreau was interested in making a sequel, Ferrell didn't want to make it. While Barbie 2023 was Greta Gerwig's biggest hit to date, grossing over $1 billion worldwide, we can argue that the story of the world's most famous doll is already complete. And, while Ryan Gosling's Ken was a scene stealer, we don't really see how a full spin-off could work. Instead, if Gerwig wants to revisit one of her films, we think Lady Bird is actually a pretty good choice. With Saoirse Ronan on board, the actress has said that she would do it without hesitating. We could definitely be interested in watching how Christine is doing as a grown-up. Gerwig said that she would do it because the character is dear to her, but it's not something she considered before. However, she says that she definitely wants to make 2 other films set in Sacramento, completing a trilogy. So, we're up for that too. Paul Feig's Bridesmaids is considered to be one of the best comedy films of the 21st century, earned 2 Academy Awards nominations, Best Original Screenplay and Best Supporting Actress for Melissa McCarthy, and it became a massive box office hit, earning more than $300 million worldwide against a budget of $32.5 million. Despite all of this, Kristen Wiig's led comedy, she also co-wrote the script with Annie Mumolo, never earned a sequel. And that was Wiig's decision. In an interview with The Hollywood Reporter, she said, "That story had an end. It's so beloved to me for 10 million reasons, and I think it's okay to just have it exist in the world as it is." The iconic comedy Galaxy Quest, featuring a star-studded cast of former sci-fi TV stars recruited by aliens to save their species, is one of the most beloved satire films of all time. And it's undoubtedly a crime that a sequel hasn't been made. However, there's no better time for one, as it could explore current themes such as toxic social media fandoms, or the obsession with remakes and revivals. While there have been discussions about a potential series, nothing has been greenlit yet. Directed by Alex Proyas and starring Will Smith, the sci-fi film explores a world in which highly intelligent robots fill public service positions throughout the world, operating under 3 laws to keep humans safe. While the movie was a commercial success, plans for a sequel never materialized. Writer Jeff Vintar told Sci-Fi that, "It's one of those things where everybody talked about it some, but it was not a sure thing in those days the way it is now." Starring Will Smith, this story of an unconventional superhero who suffers from a serious public image problem has become a cult classic since its release in 2008. While it wasn't precisely loved by critics, its fan base has grown and many demand a sequel. Director Peter Berg, actually, had plans for a second film in 2009 and Columbia Pictures even hired Adam Fierro and Glenn Motzara to write the script. However, the project never came to fruition. Starring The Boys actor Karl Urban, Dredd is a sci-fi action film set in a dystopian future that follows Judge Dredd, a law enforcement officer, must navigate a high-rise apartment building controlled by a drug lord. Olivia Thirlby, Lena Headey and Wood Harris complete the cast of the movie, directed by Pete Travis. While it was successful with critics and audiences, the film failed to make an impact at the box office, barely grossing $41.5 million worldwide, so a possible sequel was ruled out. Jennifer Goodwin, Kate Hudson, Colin Egglesfield, and John Krasinski starred in the 2011 romantic dramedy, Something Borrowed, which, fairly, was not a success in terms of reception, despite a decent run at the box office. It was based on Emily Giffen's novel of the same name. However, for those who didn't like the ending and for those who did enjoy the movie, a sequel could have addressed some of the criticisms of the first film, especially as it would follow Giffen's book, Something Blue, which would have given Darcy her happy ending. Rom-coms don't get many sequels, but some stories have room to explore, and Confessions of a Shopaholic could have had another chapter. Especially, as the film is based on a 10-book series by Sophie Kinsella. While fans of the genre adored the movie, starring Isla Fisher and Hugh Dancy as Luke. While it received mostly negative reviews by critics, the movie was a commercial success, grossing over $108.3 million against a $44 million budget. If we could get more of Channing Tatum and Jonah Hill, we definitely would. The pair chemistry and comedic timing in the buddy cop action comedies, 21 Jump Street, and 22 Jump Street, is so good, that fans wanted another sequel. However, dreams do not always come true. While in 2014, 23 Jump Street was confirmed by Sony, Tatum wasn't sure about joining the film. Then, it was revealed that the studio was planning a crossover with the Men in Black franchise, but neither project came to fruition. To include a Marvel film in this list may seem odd, given the studio's propensity for sequels, spin-offs, and Disney's vast array of franchises. However, despite Marvel's tendency to produce trilogies for every character, Chloe Zhao's Eternals remains an underrated film, even among comic book fans. While the movie was one of Marvel's first to not receive a universally positive reaction from critics, that doesn't diminish its intriguing premise. With a multitude of fascinating characters and a strong cast, Eternals deserves a sequel, even if Marvel isn't fully on board with the idea. Directed by Steven Spielberg and starring Jamie Bell, the animated film follows young reporter Tintin and his trusty dog Snowy in a global adventure as he tries to figure out the mystery of a hidden treasure. The film grossed $374 million and received positive reviews, and 2 more sequels were in development. However, more than 10 years have passed since, and while Spielberg has always said that there's interest in the project, it hasn't been greenlit. Will Ferrell and Mark Wahlberg's first collaboration was this buddy cop satire directed by Adam McKay. They star in the film as desk-bound NYPD detectives Gamble, Ferrell, and Hoyts, Wahlberg, who get the opportunity to prove their value after a seemingly minor case turns out to be a big deal. The movie was well received by critics and audiences alike, and it became a commercial hit, grossing $170 million worldwide. While it was funny, fast-paced and clever, the film ended up being a standalone adventure. Ferrell and Wahlberg, however, decided to milk their chemistry with Daddy's Home 1 and 2. Despite its mixed reviews, Dracula Untold has gained a loyal fanbase over the years. Starring Luke Evans as Vlad III, aka Dracula, the film reimagines the infamous figure as a tragic anti-hero, blending history with supernatural elements. Originally meant to kick off a monster universe, it failed to ignite that larger franchise, but its ending, which hints at Dracula's journey into the modern world, left fans longing for more, making it a prime candidate for a sequel that could fully explore its untapped potential. Before starring as Captain America in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, Chris Evans starred in this superhero film alongside Dakota Fanning and Camilla Belle. Set in Hong Kong, the film follows a group of youngsters with psychic superpowers who must defend themselves from a government agency that wants to create an army of super soldiers. While the film was panned by critics, it holds a 24% score on Rotten Tomatoes, and barely had a decent box office run. The story was clearly set up for a continuation. However, due to the poor results, it never happened. It's true that now it has been mostly forgotten. Fans of the story would have loved a resolution. The Princess Diaries, starring Anne Hathaway, could have easily become a successful trilogy. A rom-com classic, fans have desperately claimed for a third film with the condition that Chris Pine, who made his feature debut in the second movie, also returns. Director Gary Marshall actually had plans for a third movie, but when he passed away in 2016, the project was shelved indefinitely. According to The Hollywood Reporter, a script for a third movie was in the works, and Hathaway has expressed her interest in reprising the character. While the American adaptation of Stieg Larsson's 2005 novel did have a sequel, it wasn't the same team behind the original. Neither director David Fincher nor writer Steven Zaillian, nor Daniel Craig and Rooney Mara returned for the second film. Instead, Claire Foy replaced Mara in the titular role for 2018's The Girl in the Spider's Web. However, fans still mourn what Fincher's vision for future stories would have been. He and Zaillian signed a two-picture deal to adapt The Girl Who Played with Fire and The Girl Who Kicked the Hornet's Nest, but due to delays, the projects fell through. This mind-bending thriller directed by Christopher Nolan, starring Leonardo DiCaprio, follows a team of thieves who enter people's dreams to steal secrets from their subconscious. With a complex plot involving layers of dreams within dreams, Inception captivated audiences with its innovative concepts and stunning visuals. The ending, which left viewers questioning reality, has sparked rumors of a sequel for years. While Nolan has expressed interest in revisiting the story, no official continuation has been confirmed, leaving fans eagerly awaiting the next chapter in this dreamscape. Chris Pine led a star-studded cast that included Michelle Rodriguez, Regé-Jean Page, Justice Smith, Sophia Lillis, and Hugh Grant in the fantasy-adventure film Dungeons & Dragons: Honor Among Thieves. Directed by Jonathan Goldstein and John Francis Daley, the film received positive reviews and was embraced by fans of the game, but it bombed at the box office, which diminished its chances for a second film. However, there's still the possibility of a sequel, according to Paramount Pictures CEO Brian Robbins, if it's made with a smaller budget. This epic period war drama directed by Peter Weir and starring Russell Crowe and Paul Bettany is beloved by fans of the genre. It follows Aubrey, captain in the Royal Navy, and Dr. Stephen Maturin, the ship's surgeon. The movie was a critical hit, earning 10 Academy Awards nominations and winning 2. As it is based on 3 novels of Patrick O'Brian's Aubrey Maturin series, the film had many storylines to adapt in a possible sequel. However, a prequel was announced in 2021 but with no more development details since then.